This is Gurugram. And this is also Gurugram.
Gurugram, a suburb of India's national capital, your capital, my capital, came up on the outskirts of Delhi with the promise of being a mini Singapore.
Every time a foreigner uploads a video about India, we get defensive. Why do you always show the ugly parts? Why not Cyber City? Why not the glass towers? But the truth is uncomfortable. We desperately want the world to see the first Gurugram, the gleaming, aspirational one. But most of the people who work inside those towers go home to the second one. There are two Gurugrams, two realities, two entirely different cities sharing the same PIN code. And today, we are finally going to talk about it. This is Periscope, and if you're new here, subscribe now, because what you're about to see will permanently change the way you look at one of India's wealthiest cities. Gurugram has 3 seasons: summer, monsoon, and winter. And somehow, it manages to ruin all 3. Summer arrives and the heat becomes relentless. Rooms stay hot deep into the night. Fans are useless. Air conditioners run around the clock. And just when you need electricity the most, Gurugram's grid lets you down. Power cuts arrive without warning. No schedule, no logic. Entire PGs classified as commercial units charge around 12 rupees per unit. You pay premium city rates for third world reliability. Parts of Gurugram consistently rank among the highest in Haryana for power interruptions, which is why almost every home and office runs an inverter or a diesel generator just to get through the day. Then comes winter, and with it, the pollution. Year after year, UNDP air quality monitors record Gurugram sitting at an average AQI between 167 and 199. These aren't bad days. These are the annual averages. You heat your room all night, choke on toxic air all morning, and still pay more for electricity than almost any other metro in the country. And then monsoon arrives, and you think finally some relief. AQI is down to manageable numbers, temperature is down, and trees look greener when the year-round dust is washed off their leaves. You're wrong. 10 minutes of rain is all it takes to bring Gurugram to its knees. Underpasses drown, cars float, sewage spills out onto roads, deliveries stop, cabs vanish. People wade through brown water that hides open manholes, sunken trenches, and in some cases, live electrical wires. This is the everyday reality of India's third largest financial hub.
Well, I'm reporting from Gurugram, which turned into a river yesterday because of 100 mm of rainfall. And today, Delhi, Noida, Gurugram is bracing for more rainfall. An orange alert has been issued.
Here's something no one tells you before you move to Gurugram. The city wasn't built for people. It was built for transactions. Gurugram is a relatively new city, artificially created, assembled from scratch on farmland. And that shows in everything it lacks. Walk its streets and you'll feel it immediately. There is no cultural soul here. No old bazaars with layers of history. No winding lanes that tell a story. No sense that generations of people lived and built something meaningful in these streets. What you get instead is a concrete jungle punctuated by huda markets, one in almost every sector. All of them offering the exact same rotation of shops, home suites, Lux and Geetanjali salon, a couple of gyms and spas. Repeat, every sector, every market, every time. It's the architectural equivalent of copy-paste. The city has scale without character, density without identity. Step outside any building and you quickly realize Gurugram was designed on the assumption that everyone owns a car. Pedestrians are an afterthought. Footpaths appear and disappear at random. People drive on the wrong side of the road, jump signals casually, and treat every roundabout like a gladiator arena where the biggest vehicle wins. Traffic isn't just bad here, it's hostile. Even the Rapid Metro, India's first fully private metro, eventually collapsed under its own financial weight and had to be rescued by DMRC in 2019. It's a perfect metaphor for what Gurugram really is. A private experiment that eventually buckles because no one ever built a public foundation underneath it. To understand why Gurugram fails its residents so consistently, you have to go back to the beginning. When Delhi invoked the Delhi Development Act in 1957, private builders were effectively pushed out of the capital. The government wanted to control growth, so developers like DLF were restricted, sidelined, told to stay away. Then came the 1990s, liberalization.
1991 was a landmark year for India, with economic reforms changing the way we live, work and spend money.
And suddenly, Gurgaon, a sleepy farming district in Haryana, became the Wild West of Indian real estate. BLF saw cheap land. The Haryana government saw tax revenue and jobs. Rules were relaxed. Zoning was flexible. Approval processes were, let's say, smoothened in ways that didn't always require paperwork. Foreign companies registered here because setting up was fast and obstacles had a way of disappearing. BLF didn't just build offices, they built everything. Apartments, malls, gated townships, schools, hospitals, commercial complexes. They constructed a city as though it were a private product, a lifestyle package, not a public habitat. And while the towers kept rising, the infrastructure never arrived. For decades, Gurugram had no municipal corporation, not a single one. The NCG was only created in 2008, long after millions of square feet had already been sold, occupied and lived in. Think about what that means. An entire city was built before anyone created the government responsible for running it. Even today, close to 2/3 of Gurugram has no proper sewage connection. Waste is routinely dumped outside society walls. Developers built skyscrapers next to slums and called it progress. Gurugram didn't grow, it metastasized. Walk through Cyber City and it feels international. Private security, manicured landscaping, private drainage systems. The Indian offices of Amazon, Deloitte, Nestle, American Express, and over 250 Fortune 500 companies. A world that seems to work. Now walk 3 minutes outside that bubble. Open garbage lining the roads, sewage running along the pavement, water tanker dependency because the pipes don't reach, potholes large enough to swallow car tires whole, and remarkably, over 25 major arterial roads in the city with no names. People navigate using landmarks because addresses don't meaningfully exist. This isn't an accident. This split exists because Gurugram doesn't function as one city. It functions as a patchwork of competing jurisdictions: NCG, GMBA, HUDA, HSVP, PHEB, BHBVN, NHAI, private developers, and resident welfare associations, each controlling different patches of the same city, each with different budgets and different rules, and absolutely no unified command. When everyone is responsible, no one is responsible. Here's the truth no one likes to say out loud. Gurugram's problems aren't special. Its governance vacuum is. Every major global city, New York, London, Paris, Tokyo, has a single elected mayor who controls the city's destiny. Transport, zoning, drainage, policing, emergency services, urban planning. One chain of command, one budget, one person you can actually blame. Recently, when New York held its mayoral election, Indian social media spent days obsessing over Zoran Mondani.
We stand on the verge of a victory that will resonate across the country and the world.
How he campaigned, how he mobilized his base, how the city erupted in a genuine debate about ideas. But not one person paused to ask the obvious question. Why don't we have this? Why do global cities get leaders while Indian cities get committees? That absence of leadership is what created the mess we call Gurugram. 7 agencies, 7 sets of priorities, 7 ways to pass the fight to someone else. The blame moves. the meetings happen, the city doesn't. And behind this governance chaos lies an even deeper structural problem: the way India actually funds its cities. Hulia Bazi, one of the sharpest policy voices in the country, shared a graph that should have broken the internet. India spends a fraction of what comparable economies invest in urban infrastructure. A country accelerating into the future is building its cities on a budget frozen in the past. Why? Because the people who control urban money, chief ministers, don't win or lose elections based on what happens in cities. Their political incentives point the other way. Tax money flows toward rural welfare, state-level optics, and freebies that move vote banks. Urban infrastructure is invisible until a building collapses, a road drowns, or something starts trending. And that's precisely why Indian cities are choking, not because the money doesn't exist, but because the political system has no reason to care. Now imagine a different Gurugram, not a patchwork of private islands floating in public chaos, but a unified city with a single elected mayor. Someone whose political survival depends on whether your street floods, whether your neighborhood has power, whether your commute takes 20 minutes or 2 hours. A mayor who answers to residents the way a chief minister answers to a state, with a career on the line. That mayor builds a drainage master plan that actually works, a mobility network that actually connects, zoning laws that are actually enforced, city services that coordinate instead of deflecting. Cities across the world have done exactly this. We are the ones too cautious or too comfortable with chaos to try. So here's a simple ask, not a revolution, just a reform. No matter which party you support, BJP, Congress, AAP, anyone, demand something bigger than a party. Demand mayoral cities. Demand city-level elections with real power and real accountability. Demand a system where the person running your city is answerable to your city. Because Gurugram is not a failed city. It is a city that no one was ever truly responsible for. Built too fast, handed over too late, governed by too many, led by none. India dreams of world-class cities, but dreams need architects. Cities need leaders. And leadership has to begin somewhere. It might as well begin with a vote. Until that changes, there will always be two Gurugrams. The one in the corporate brochure, and the one where people actually live, breathe, struggle, and quietly hope that someone, someday, will finally be in charge. This is Periscope. Thanks for watching. Subscribe because there are a lot more cities that need to have this conversation.